start, and I am going to record this. This is Mike Russell. I'm the one of the co-chairs for District 6510 Membership and Retention. Along with me is Dr. Deb Fry, my other co-chair, and welcome to our mentorship training. And so I think that we've had said hello to everybody, and we've just had a good discussion about who do we invite to be mentors. There's a kind of a and what kind of skills do these mentors need to have? So I think that's one of the things we're going to try to cover today. So one, welcome. We have the schedule for 2 hours. Hopefully it won't last that long. And, we don't need to have the meetings last very long. But what we're going to do, again, we have a kind of a kitchen sink agenda, but, feel free to take us off into tangents. This is for you. So we want to make sure that we cover what you want to cover. So I have slides, but at some points, I'm going to take you to Rotary.org. I'm going to try to take you to source material so you can see different avenues and resources that are there for you. All right, so just a little bit about GoToMeeting. Just realize that if you're not going to talk, we ask you to mute your mic. And the way you do that is, I think you just right click on or click on the telephone, I think it is, and then you can mute yourself. And I'm not.
On the computer screen, you see the green mic above at the top of the screen.
Yeah, so just click the green microphone and you should be muted. And that way, if you want to crunch on crackers or peanuts or whatever, we won't all hear you. Okay, good. So here's our agenda. Again, it looks like a lot, but we're gonna touch. This is kind of a wave top approach, and so we're gonna hit a bunch of stuff. But again, feel free to ask questions. This is for you. And again, I've got my color commentator Deb here to help us out here. All right, so we're gonna get right to it. So mentor training. Why is mentoring important, Davey? You talked about it a little bit, but we need to get people engaged. Rotary does not have a problem bringing people in the door. I think if anybody had gone to our membership and retention seminar in July, Deb showed us that we bring in a lot of people, but we lose just as many. So what's the issue with retention? So the biggest one is expectations, both before they join and after they join, so that the new Rotarian has an opportunity to understand what are they getting themselves into, and also what just a fuller understanding of Rotary in your club. Why? Because you want to get buy-in that Rotary is a special thing, that your club's a special place, and they fully understand what's going on there. Just as an example, I still remember, I had just retired from the military, and my dad was really pressing me to get involved in community service. And I just happened to have Dr. Todd Kale, who was superintendent in our local school district, and he was my next door neighbor. And he said, "Do you want to go to Rotary?" I said, "Great, sure. What's Rotary?" And so he told me, but so I show up, and there's good and bad here because we didn't have a mentoring program. And so what I noticed is that our club was very, and I'm from O'Fallon Sunrise, it was very club centric. So I got involved with projects they did, but I didn't really know about Rotary International in general because we never talked about it. And we didn't talk about foundation that much. I didn't really understand how that worked. Polio I got, but there wasn't really a program to kind of onboard this new person with a series of expectations and nobody, and a willingness to understand what I thought was good or what my passions were, etc. So that's what this is, and that's why it's so important to have a mentoring program in any way, shape, or form, just to do these types of tasks. And so what we're trying to push you for is to formalize it. So Go ahead, Deb.
Mike, to add to that, with the mentoring, why it's so important is just like in business, when you're mentoring a new employee, you're bringing them into the culture of your organization. And every Rotary Club has its own color, its own culture, different kinds of activities that we do. And you certainly want that person to feel as if they fit, and that mentoring activity is what helps them feel part of that fellowship, part of that culture. So it's really important. The mentoring role, I think, is more important than ever because our newer, younger members expect to be mentored. They are used to having those kinds of activities, even in the world of business, where they have to learn about a new company. Same thing with our Rotary clubs.
Hey, Mike, Greg Yank.
Go ahead.
I think the mentoring concept is great. We tried it in our club, and Jill, are you on the call? I think I saw Jill. I can.
As she is on there, I'm sure she
Yeah,
can hear us.
and I can. At some point, we can share our experience. But I think the other key here is we've got to differentiate what a mentor does versus a solid orientation program that new members should be going through. And that's where I think, Mike, you can get a better understanding of club structure, Rotary International Foundation. If there's an ongoing orientation program, we have one that we repeat. There's several modules to it. So I think there is a difference between mentoring and orientation. A mentor can orient someone, but and we can talk further about that. But
No, Greg, it's an excellent point, and I
Yes.
think that you hit the nail on the head. So a mentor can do both, but you can also kind of separate the I'll say the knowledge of the Rotary and the structure of your club and so on, and you can formalize it in another path. So what you're going to notice in here, Greg, is that plagiarism is the highest form of flattery, right? So I've taken the subjects and a lot of the material from your club's orientations because I've
good,
copied
good,
every
good.
one of them, and made sure we kind of capture those types of things. So absolutely, there's lots of different ways to tackle this. I think what I'm trying to do here is to talk about the subjects, but you can do this in the form of a person doing it, or you can have a team that does regularly scheduled orientations like
Now,
Greg.
Mike, do you have on your slides a mentoring worksheet?
I don't have it on the slides, but
Okay,
I was just
because
thinking I
there's
need to.
several that we use. I have
Yeah.
3 in front of me, and I didn't get them to you, but we certainly can. So
Yeah. So
And to your point, Greg, the caveat is that every individual mentor is also going to have a little different slant on different things. Maybe they won't always know everything they need to know. So it might not be one mentor. It might be several mentors that need to actually take on their expertise, if you will. But the orientation is the foundational piece.
yeah, you're not going to get people a mentor if they think they have to
No.
know everything about Rotary.
No.
true. True.
Greg, it's
So,
Jill. I've dialed in. I was on the computer audio, but I didn't have any mic, so I did
okay.
call in.
All
Hey,
right. So
Jill.
what I'm showing you
Good.
here, let's see if I can
Yeah,
maximize this a little
good.
bit. So,
Excellent.
Right there. Look at that.
All right.
so again, I
Yeah.
think we probably stole this from you too, Greg. I don't know. We pretty much steal everything from you. So what we have here, and David Gorenstein has a good version of this as well. So basically, how the mentoring worksheet does it kind of just gives you a structure to how to bring somebody on. So we include these in our new member packets, so they get them on day one, and we try to make sure that they have a mentor assigned to them. Now, doesn't just because you have that mentor doesn't mean that mentor necessarily needs to capture all this. You'll see that some of these, briefings on subjects on Rotary policies, club structure, et cetera. If somebody else does them, then they can sign off on those. So let me talk about this really quick. So you see, I have read the following, and what I've done is I've actually put these on my website. so that people can access them right there. Um, and then a lot of this stuff is kind of forcing them to get engaged. So join, complete it. You have to join a committee, go take down flags, go work in the Rotary Garden, and then you can do a few things like attend a board meeting, committee meeting, Rotary district training, present a briefing, bring somebody to the club, make up at a different Rotary club, etc. When you get down to the discuss with your mentor, then you talk about club meeting structure, district structure, etc. A lot of which is going to be covered in this briefing. And then your specific club projects, RI programs, and then history, etc. So, and then this is on our website, or this is actually on the Rotary 6510 membership Facebook page. If you look in files, you'll have both the one that David Gorenstein provided and this one as well. So it's a good resource. And we've made a big deal out of people taking off the new member sticker. Hey, I finished this. Come on up, and all right, we're ripping this thing off, and it was good. So it was, we just we try to have fun with it.
Excellent.
Okay, so Greg,
Mike, it's Jill. I
Hi, Jill.
have a quick question. Hi. Because I was there this morning and I noticed a lot of people still had that new member sticker on. So are you giving them a time frame of which you want to get this completed in, or just leaving it up to the individual?
I've done a poor job of tracking it. I think we assign them mentors, but I quite honestly, as the membership chair, have not kept track of who is the mentor for whom and the time frame, etc. So it is something that I think every time I see somebody with a new member, like, hey, so where are you now? And they'll say, I have such and such left to do, or usually they have the people I've seen have a pretty good idea of what they got left. But you're right.
I think that's sorry.
No. Good.
I was just going to say, so I think that's an important aspect of any mentoring program. We're really good at getting things started. We're not always good at seeing it come to conclusion or to that next step.
Yep.
So I think that's an important part of any club mentoring program that you incorporate, that you really have somebody kind of keeping an eye and making sure the mentors are doing what they need to get done. And we've had that same issue at our club where we have a great plan, it'll kind of go, it'll kind of fizzle, it'll kind of, hey, are we doing that anymore?
Right.
So you lose that momentum if you don't have somebody focusing on where are we closing the loop.
Yeah. And I think that what you're going to find is the membership team has to be more than one person.
Yeah.
Because if you can be a one-man marching band, if you're doing everything from doing these orientations to beating the bushes trying to get new members, and then tracking mentoring, I mean, there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably another thing for new upcoming presidents to think about too.
That celebration could be a really formalized kind of thing. Say, hey, we're planning a rip off your new member sticker for these members that came in such a window of time, and make it a big deal. A fellowship event.
But so part how do you mentor a new member? We've kind of talked about that a little bit. Welcome them, get to know them, their passions, desires, introduce them to others. I mean, part of this is networking. We shouldn't hide from it. That's one of the reasons why it was established. And get them engaged. Engagement is the number one thing that they found will create the buy-in and help them to stay. And teach them about Rotary. And so that's part of this is training is there to help you become better experts at Rotary. So, all right. So when we talk, so a lot of these slides, just so you understand, are kind of geared so that you can present something to a new member. So we all probably know this to a certain degree, maybe not, because I think we have a few people who are fairly new, like Neil. But you can also tailor these to your club. So you're going to see examples from my club, And so you can take them off and put in examples from yours, or tailor these as not necessary. So Rotary International, we know this is a global network, and it's also business professional community leaders, and we're here to do service, and exchange ideas, network, and just share our time and talents. So how was it established? So in 1905, Paul Harris wanted, three friends decided, hey, let's meet up for the purpose of service. So Rotary, the word came about because they rotated their meeting locations. So, all right, so here's the trivia question. What was their first service project?
Didn't it have something to do with toilets in Chicago?
Yep, public toilets. So I still don't know how they did it, because I don't know if porta potties were exactly invented by that time. But yeah, I guess there were no public toilets. So okay, so then in 1917, by the way, let me show you something. So I'm highlighting a bunch of history like I know it all. But if I go to Rotary, this is Rotary.org. And under Rotary, under Learning and Reference, you'll see that I can scroll down to About Rotary. I can go down to Priority, Structure, Leadership, all the way down to History, and that's where I'm at right now. So it has the history of Rotary International, the foundation, about Paul Harris himself. So there's a lot of information on Rotary.org.
We're hearing a lot of background noise, folks. So if some of you are kind of having fun at your desk, you need to mute so that it doesn't come across our microphones.
Okay.
All right, that's better. Thank you.
Okay. So also in these slides, I have a little bit of so I have some of the information which I stole from the website. So so take advantage of that. So it's 1917. The Rotary Foundation was started. It wasn't called the Rotary Foundation at that point, but Arch Clump. So you talk about one of the awards for foundation giving is called the Arch Clump Award, and it's because he started it up. And then finally in 1932, you had the four-way test, and we'll get to that. But four-way test was established because Herbert Taylor wanted to make, create something so he can show that that his business was an ethical one. So Rotary became an ethical establishment, or more formally so, after he created the four-way test. Okay, this was one of the Rotary structure is something that's, I'll say, very foggy. I don't think I learned it for like the first 4 or 5 years I was in Rotary. So it's kind of helpful. All he did was pull off. I had to search for this, and you notice that it's in French. So you take your resources where you can get them. But I didn't understand how. All right, I understand it's an international organization, and I understand I'm in a club. I even understand the district. Beyond that, it was all foggy. So this is just a good example, showing how all the clubs and districts are put into zones and so on around the world. 1.2 million members, 34,000 clubs. That's straight from RI. So,
hey Mike, Greg.
Go ahead, Greg.
We gained 25,000 this last year from July 1 to July 1. So we're at 1.210, 35,000 clubs. We're at 35,000 clubs, and there are 534 districts.
Oh my gosh.
But still, and there are 34 zones. So.
So the way I've been trying to tell new members about this is how we're all connected. So especially when we talk about Rotary Foundation, we talk about global grants, we talk about the power of what we can do together. We're only a small club, but together we can do huge things because our combined efforts make a big difference, like in polio. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's important to describe how this all looks. So here's our mission, and I don't think everyone pretty much knows this: service, integrity, and advancing goodwill and peace. Through fellowship, that's always been part of what we do. Business professional community leaders. so around the world. So avenues of service. Now, the way I describe avenues of service, and again, this is for your club, is these are opportunities for you to get engaged. So what is your passion? So when you're going, when you're looking at avenues and service, just go ahead and talk about each one and how and what it means in your club. And we'll come up with we have some examples coming up of that. As a matter of fact, I can probably go ahead and flip over to those. So these are examples from O'Fallon Sunrise web or orientation, I should say. So community programs, the types of things that we're involved with, international programs, and then youth programs, fundraisers. What kind of fundraisers do you do? How can you get involved? And also how the fundraisers tie back to being able to do youth, international, and community. A lot of people don't understand that tie-in. And for instance, in our club, if we talk about the dues, in our club, the dues really only pay for the meeting itself, either the food, the room, or just being there. That's what the dues cover. But the fundraisers cover our ability to contribute to each of these other types of programs. So it's really important that we have to touch on that so they understand, hey, selling a lobster or cooking a lobster makes a difference. So going back to avenues of service, that's how I emphasize this.
Mike, I think one of the things that came across to me when I first became a member, I kind of got slammed with tons of information at the front end, and the focus areas were slammed at me at the same time avenues of service were. And I think that as I explained it to, I started to work and mentor folks, just casually mentor people, explaining the areas of service helped me to understand what the focus areas are and what the difference was.
Right.
That there's, the areas of focus are one thing, but the avenues of service are, you find some problems, and Rotary can provide a way for you to serve to solve those problems. And I think when we're working with the young professionals, that is very meaningful to them.
Absolutely, Deb. I completely agree. And and we're going to touch on the Rotary focus areas here in a minute. One of the avenues of service, which I think is the most foggy to me, is vocational service. They don't really describe it very well in Rotary.org, but essentially, you can make of this what you want. Everything from doing classification reviews to seeing, okay, we've got too many. What I say is we can't swing a dead cat without hitting a financial planner in our club. And so, so maybe we need to balance it out a little bit. And it's becoming aware of this is our networking opportunity here. So making sure that we have members get up and talk about what they do. How do you become a financial planner? How do you become a pilot in the Air Force or so on? So we're aware of just different vocations out there. I think I find those the most interesting. We get the biggest feedback off of vocational. So don't forget that piece, even though the sexy ones are community service, youth, international, and also club service. I mean, don't forget those guys who make who make sure to coordinate the meals and set up the meetings and put up the flag and all those attributes that make the meeting perfect. So lots of ways to get involved. Okay, so we've talked about this a little bit, but the four-way test is a big deal, and we shouldn't shy away from the fact that this is our ethics. And so when we get feedback for why do you like Rotary, the ethics stand out. And especially when we're talking in a networking environment. So we're in Rotary, and now we have all these different people who are doing different things. We got realtors and financial planners, like I mentioned, and so on. Well, my guess is you're probably going to go to one of those because you can trust a Rotarian. So this is a draw, and I think we should really tout it as a draw. That when you get into this club, you're going to come into a community from which you can draw upon. And you know that if somebody is in there and you ask them, about something, you can trust that it's going to be right. So that's I think that when we talk about Rotary a lot, sometimes we don't hit this as much, but I think it should be front and center.
Hello, Mike.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Robert Holloway.
Hi, Robert.
Hello, Robert.
I'm sorry I got on a little bit late, but I'm really picking up some good points. I have a whole page of notes here to share with my club. One thing that we are doing, I guess the sponsor of a new member pretty much has becoming the mentor, and will stay with that club new member, ready to answer any questions and to share the information that we're talking about here this evening. And then once a quarter, we have a club assembly in which every club chairman, not necessarily the chairman, but even a member of the committee will give a report. And that is very enlightening, to a new member that has a sponsor sitting, right next, to him. I think all of this is good, but nothing beats eye-to-eye contact with a new member. And a Rotarian is an upstanding citizen in his community, and you have to ask him to become involved in the projects that we have. And I generally tell them when they ask, what is Rotary? Rotary is the largest humanitarian organization in the world, helping those, in need. But I do want to ask somebody if they would send me one of their orientation booklets, I guess, or whatever you're giving to the new member.
Yep. Bob, are you on Facebook?
No, I'm not on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm too old for that.
Bob, this is Rob. We're never too old. Mike, this is Neil. I'm on Facebook. If you can get it to me, I'll get it to the club.
So I'm going to show you how to get to it because this beautiful thing. All right. So if we're going back on Facebook, which I've got, here we go, right here. Okay. So this is a web. This is Facebook, and I'm going to go to see our membership page, and this is a little free publicity for our membership page, right, Deb?
Yes.
So in our membership page, we try to have particular topics and interesting articles, etc. Now, our real resource here is in the file page. Everybody can see me clicking on this at the top of the page. So once you go to files, now you scroll down here and you can see different resources here. So a club brochure, we've got PowerPoints from Rotary.org, webinars on membership, and also our ready to launch membership tools. That was our own webinar. But way down here, we've got a sample website. We've got, hang on, I thought I had an orientation.
I think we do.
I think we do too.
But if we don't, we'll get it up there.
Put that on there.
Yeah.
But
well, Mike, tell me how to lead me through on Facebook. I registered myself, and then what do I ask for? Okay,
so in the easiest way to do it, Bob, is up here. You'll see Rotary. Just put in Rotary 6510 membership. You see how I've written it up there?
I'm on my phone and not on my.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, I don't know. So you're not on the GoToMeeting or anything like that.
Rotary 6510. Okay, I can
Rotary
do that.
6510 membership, and what it's going to do is it's going to ask you.
This is Mary Jo.
Yes, Mary Jo.
If you want, I can download them on, I probably have the files somewhere on my computer. I can email them to you.
I'll tell you what, why don't we sit together on the airplane? We got 8 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
5 hours, yeah.
All right, we'll do that.
That's perfect.
Sure.
All right, but Bob,
you'll be my mentor.
I'm going to put up I'm going to put this slide deck on, I'll put it on Facebook if it fits. And then I'll put it as a PowerPoint, and that way you can download it and you can tailor it to your use. Okay, good. All right, so we are talking about ethics, and Bob, you had really good points there. That as far as the committee reports, I really like that. I think that I try to have committees once a month, which probably is too much, but I think once a quarter. I found that those reports, hey, this is what our committee's doing, this is what this committee's doing, was really good because I wanted those members to hear what the club is doing in general, because most likely they were going to take those nuggets that were just called out. And when somebody asks them, what are you doing in your Rotary Club? Those are going to be the first things that come out.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good input, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's one of the least understood aspects of Rotary. So we're going to cover this over a couple different slides, so for you newbies, do not hesitate to ask what this is about. But essentially, a foundation. This is how we do our good works. This is what funds our good works. So the clubs doing their fundraising only go so far. So the Rotary Foundation can double your ability to impact your local community, and we'll kind of give you some examples. So the Rotary Foundation, obviously, the way it works. I'm going to go to the second slide first. So essentially, when you contribute $1, and this example is $1,000, so 500. It gets held for 3 years, which is important because they get interest off of it, and then after 3 years, that $1,000 gets split into two. $500 gets sent off to the World Fund, and I'll say majority of it gets put into the World Fund to be used for block grant for global grants. The other $500 comes right back to your district. So what we saw this year, our district contributed, I think it was $176,000. So in 3 years, our district will have half of that, about 80. I don't know. I hate to do public math here, but almost $90,000 to split between clubs. So what happens is your club gets a good idea of how they want to contribute. They develop it and they put in their application to get a matching grant from the Rotary Foundation. That is coming from this DDF, district designated funds. So if you put up 1,000, I think it's a minimum of 1,000, then you could get upwards of a match to go do your good works. So here's an example of you put in $1 and it comes directly back in your community to help out. Now, in the case of the World Fund or the global grants, we have an example of that too, where we're trying to do a huge water well project in Malawi. So District 6510 is taking advantage of that as well. And then as far as trying to get people to contribute, we have a lot of recognition for that. So the first recognition, I'll say, is a sustaining member. $100 per year. That's 3 down there. So you'll also hear every Rotarian every year. So if we can just get the Rotarians in your club just to do $100 per year, which is, I'll say, what is about $8 a month, which is essentially a beer at at any restaurant, then they'll meet that goal. And then the next goal is a Paul Harris Fellowship. So $1,000 in it's not $1,000 per year, but it's $1,000 total. So it can be, it takes you 10 years, you do $100 per year, and in your 10th year you get a Paul Harris Fellowship. And then you can actually your next highest recognition. Obviously, you can get multiple Paul Harris Fellows, and then you get a new pin with a jewel in it. Again, we want to make sure that we recognize people who do this. But you can also join the Paul Harris Society. So that means you've committed to do $1,000 per year for 3 years minimum. And we've made it a big deal in our district to reward those people who join the Paul Harris Society. They have a different pin, and they also have a social at the district conference. I mean, you just want to make sure that people understand that this is a big deal. And then you can go to a major donor, which is a $10,000 min. And you remember Arch Klump, our old buddy, who created the foundation? Well, you get a special Arch Klump if you contribute $250,000. But you can also designate it in your will, and that makes you a benefactor. And then finally, the Bequest Society is if you designate a minimum of $10,000 in your will. So lots of ways to contribute. And then you know that for every dollar you give, it is coming right back in our communities to help out people in need. Anybody have anything to add on that?
I'll jump in, Mike.
Go ahead.
On the first Paul Harris Fellow, there are a couple of ideas. These are not mandates by any stretch. But as a way to teach newcomers about Paul Harris Fellows and Paul Harris Society, most clubs have points available.
Oh, really good point.
And after you get your newbie through their orientation and you rip off that, it might be a good idea to give them their first Paul Harris Fellow by club points, as a way to teach them what's next.
Good.
And let them, the first one can be a freebie in effect, but it's the doorway to what. At John A. Logan a month ago, I debuted a PowerPoint that I called the Paul Harris Pin Ladder, and it's on DACDB in the Files menu. Basically, it's pictures of the pins, all the way from the original pin up to a +8.
Wow.
And it just staged one slide at a time. Go ahead, Deb.
No, that's David. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know, maybe I'm old school. I earned my first Paul Harris, and I earned it by finding ways to give money or to get some matching points, as opposed to just doing it as a freebie. What we may look to do is some type of regular matching program for newbies, maybe the first year or the second year, so that whatever they can come up with, that the club would match. But I just don't know about at the end of the first year you say, well, we're going to give you a Paul Harris, and we hopefully that you'll continue to make contributions.
And I think in our club that we do a matching thing, like you said, David, when we try to do our foundation, because we got a lot of people.
I know the Catherine Yank with our club has done that for the last couple of years, and quite frankly, maybe we haven't sold it well enough, but most of the members of the club don't even take advantage of it.
Quite honestly,
I'm sorry?
Quite honestly, I think it's, both of you have excellent points there. Giving them new members an opportunity to be Paul Harris Fellows using the points, the right ways to do it. I see an opportunity also with the engagement model we've been talking about almost ad nauseum the last 6 months, is that you get these new members involved in service in such a way that perhaps a reward system. These new members that have done X number of hours of service in the first 6 months of after they've ripped off their ribbon, will you get an opportunity for the points? Create a little bit of a competitive spirit around it even.
And it's a really good point, Deb. I think that we had talked about that too, as far as younger people, where maybe they're not, they don't have the expendable cash in order to contribute to the Rotary Foundation, but hours towards a project or something like that, or leading a project, maybe it gives it. Then you can give points for that.
That works.
There's a few different ways to do that. Okay, really good discussion.
I'm going to jump in one more time.
Go ahead, Lanny.
This is probably a counter proposal to what I think existed 20 years ago in Rotary, and that was, well, I am a Paul Harris Fellow. And the point being, they contributed once, they gave their 1,000, and that's the end of the ladder right there.
Exactly.
And I want to try to make sure that there is a general understanding that that ladder continues.
That's a really good point.
Absolutely.
Really good point. Okay, so any other questions on the foundation? Okay. All right. So one other thing that I'll throw in there, and I don't know if I've got this in my tool bag here, but no, I don't think I do. On the DACDB, there is in the files section, and I could probably get to that. I think there is a slideshow on the different projects we have done in the district with the grants. And I can't remember exactly where that is. I mean, maybe I'll.
You're on the right track there, Mike.
Okay. So grants, here we go. So grants, files, grants, 2014 pictures. So we'll make sure we post this in the Facebook page as well. And here, let me show you what this thing looks like real quick. So in here is, again, here are your focus areas, which we'll get to in a second. But it goes through every club and what they did. So this is an example to show your guys about how, putting $1 towards Rotary Foundation helps right here in the community. And this is excellent for publicity too. There's a nice picture of you over there on the left-hand side. So anyway, so we'll make sure we have this in the Facebook page as well.
Excellent.
Okay, good.
And now I'm going to jump in for just 1 second and tell everybody in the room that all of those pictures were pulled from the final reports for the 14-15 clubs. So I guess my message now is going to be, give me good quality pictures of Rotarians at work.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I don't think we do a good job of publicizing ourselves. Being the publicity guy this year, I think that's one of the things I learned. I think we need to do a better job of that.
And the other thing that I'm going to add right now, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, video is worth 10,000. I put out the all call. When I handed out those checks, I would like to arrange to be on site on one of your work days so I can take some video.
Excellent.
I like it. All right, I'm writing that down.
Let me jump in here too. The one thing our club does weekly, we will have a story and a picture of a Rotarian, not necessarily just the president, but we have other members that are well respected in the club, but they will also be in the picture. But we have an article and a picture about Rotary once a week in our local newspaper.
Oh, wow.
That's a really good idea, Bob.
And it doesn't cost. And it doesn't cost us a cent. They're glad to do it. But I know in other areas there's competing newspapers, and it can't be done. But we're very fortunate.
And now you can actually every newspaper has most every newspaper has a Facebook page that you can get to. Like I know in our area, Belleville News Democrat and Fallon Progress all have Facebook pages, along with this like O'Fallon itself has a unofficial town Facebook pages. You can drop in the article right in there, and it shows up. So you can take advantage of social media that way.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good discussion. Okay, so I'm going to talk about areas of focus here. Now, areas of focus are important because what they constrain, they both give you, they frame and constrain what we spend our dollars on. So again, when you're asking somebody, what are your passions? Well, I mean, your passions can be about just about anything. But what Rotary has done, to their credit, is they've categorized what they think their most important areas are. So if they have $1 to spend, they want it spent on one of these different categories. Now, how do we describe these? I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory, but what's a good way to describe these to our members? And I'm going to show you. So there are excellent videos out there that you can download. And this is where I wish I had the sound, but they're called in Vimeo.com, Vimeo. And the reason why I'm pointing you to this website is that Rotary International puts every video on Vimeo. So now, the Doing Good series is essentially the Rotary focus areas. Each of these videos is about 3 minutes long, and they're fantastic introductions to the focus areas. So here's how I used them 2 years ago when I was president of my club. So I'm just going to play this in the background so you kind of see, this first particular one. It'll go through every one of these focus areas. And then you can follow it up with a discussion about the foundation, because how are we going to help in treating disease and maternal health and so on? It's through the Rotary Foundation. So each one of these videos features a particular person and how the foundation has helped them. So that it's excellent to show. So I'm gonna pause this because this thing's playing in my ear right now, even though you guys can't hear it.
Mike, what side is that now?
Vimeo, Vimeo.
You can see at the top of the screen.
At the top of the screen.
Can I jump in here?
Go ahead, Lanny.
I have all 18 of those videos on my hard drive and on 2 gigabyte thumb drives.
Oh.
I will tell you that they can get a little jumpy if you try to play them from the thumb drive. It's better off to take the thumb drive, download them onto your own hard drive. But every one of the people that Mike has shown you individually in some of these preview slides has a video about that person and about a project.
Yep. So I'm going to show you. I'll show you another way to get it. So you look down here. I don't know if you can see my cursor down below the picture, and you can see download. And then when you click download, it'll give you a choice of how big. Either you want to put it on a mobile, so you can view it on your phone, or all the way down to high def. So you can download it from here as well. But you're right. So this intro just gives you the first one, and then in each one of these, and then it goes into specifically into each one of these focus areas. And I try to do about once a month. So I was president for 12 months. So I got to do once a month was about right. And especially when we started to do, a foundation type of fundraiser, and we did the matching points to go along with it. These videos were crucial, and they really didn't take that long. You just got to have the ability to show a movie essentially on a screen and be able to show a website. So, any other ideas like that? Lanny, I like yours. So that's how I describe these. I figure, again, like Lanny said, a video is worth 10,000 words.
I think I will run that video, especially the one that focuses on so many things the women do at the Women's Wellness event.
Yeah.
I'll have that running on a screen on our exhibit for all of our clubs, because that really sends a brilliant message in without saying anything. People can stop by and see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it does. Now, you'll notice here, this is our Sunrise Rotary website. And so I've taken that video and we've put it on the website, and it's self-playing. So if I go to the home page and then I jump over to Avenues of Service, then it'll just start going.
Fantastic.
So that's the other nice thing about this one. Okay. All right. So back to our. Oh, by the way, in this website, I basically copied the definitions of or descriptions of all the areas of focus, so you can have those as well. Okay. So we hit areas of focus. Now Polio Plus. This is probably one of the biggest things I think we can tout as a Rotary, as an organization, is that we did something nobody else has done. I don't think anybody else has done anything close to this. But you figure the impact that Rotary has had through that connectedness, through the for the 2 million people and 34,000 clubs and etc. It's just astounding. So again, I think that we're all old enough to remember when polio was a big deal. My godfather had polio, and so my parents had to explain to me while I was young why he can't move his left arm anymore.
Hey, I remember kids in iron lungs.
Yeah.
And Franklin Delano Roosevelt, we all learned about how he had polio, and how everyone was scared to go to the swimming pool or swim in a pond, and that was in our own country. So to think that as late as 1985, so I was in college in 1985, or actually 1988. I had graduated college, and so to think that we had started that late in the game, and yet today we've we've wiped it out in except for 3 countries, and one of the countries, Nigeria, hasn't had a case in a year. The other thing is, how cheap is this? 60 cents. So Polio Plus is a huge draw. And make sure that when you're talking about foundation, you hook this up with polio. So some people don't understand the foundation, but they get polio. And so,
hey Mike,
go ahead.
Mike, another.
I was just going to inject one thing. What we do now with Polio Plus, when we have speakers for the club, we've done away with trying to give them flags or banners and mugs and other things. Instead, we make a $25 donation in their name to the Foundation for Polio Plus.
That's really good. And then you can tell them how many children they vaccinated.
Well, $25, I guess, is about 40 vaccinations, 50 vaccinations.
Yeah.
No, it's I'm sorry. It's,
41, almost 42.
Oh, so it's 41. So that $25 donation in their name will, vaccinate 41 children.
Yeah, and that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. But I'd rather be doing that than spending the $8 or $9 or $12 either on a banner or on a mug, which in most cases they don't do anything with anyway.
Well, you hope that they wave the mug around and
listen, I have mugs in my garage, and they have nuts and bolts and and all sorts of things in them, but we don't use them for drinking.
Yep. So anybody have any other techniques how they do this?
Yeah, I'm going to interject one point.
Go ahead, Lanny.
I think there are two really well-kept secrets in District 6510, and here's one of them. And the secret is, at the district conference, we have a 500 plus 500 booth set up for Polio Plus. People who are willing to donate $500 at the table, we have a whole sheaf of point matches, sheets of paper sitting there, so that they'll become a Paul Harris Fellow within 3 weeks. And I don't think that's well publicized around the district that for people who do go to conference, or actually I've been asked already, I can't go to conference, but if I give you a check, can you take care of it?
Oh, cool.
And,
Absolutely.
we can handle that. Yes, we can. Here's another, and this has nothing to do with polio, but the other well-kept secret I learned last night. I don't know how well people understand those Cardinals-Cubs baseball tickets and the impact that they can have on our district. Because last night, Tom Giebert, his hand was quivering when he showed, he just got the check from Cardinals this week, $11,000.
Wow.
Rebate from our Cardinals-Cubs ticket sales.
Okay, so does everybody understand how the Cardinals-Cubs thing works? So I don't know, Lanny, you want to talk about that for a second?
Well, it starts out at Pets, when a gentleman from the district just north of us, Rod Buffington, has been doing this for many years and has kind of partnered with our district. Cardinals give him a whole packet of tickets, and the more he can sell, I use that singularly as the royal we, the more we can sell, the more rebate we get. Rod hands them out under a very strict timeline, and I'm not sure that the president-elects really understand. Actually, I've heard complaints. You go back to their own club, and the tickets cost $60 a piece, and people whine and complain about $60 tickets to a ball game. They don't really understand the backstory, which is $30 of that's going to come back to the district.
And I think that how much did we get, Lanny, how much did we get this year district-wide from Foundation to be able to hand out as a DDF?
It was, I think, $36,000.
Okay.
Change.
So the way this happens, so $36,000, and we split it among, I'll say 48 clubs. We're assuming all 48 clubs submitted grants. Okay, so what this $11,000 is used for is it goes on top of the $36,000 and funds more grants. So let's assume that we're only, of the 48 clubs, only 20 of them are able to get grants. Well, and another 10 are in waiting. Well, the other 10 maybe be able to get the foundation or the matching grant now because of just simply Cardinals versus Cubs tickets. Did I say that right, Lanny?
Right. You're on the right track there.
So
the other thing that's good about that Cardinals money is that we don't have to spend it in the next 11 months. If we want to hang on to it for a little longer, we can. We don't have to report it to the Rotary Foundation because it's really a separate fund from DDF. So it's money that we have better control of locally.
Very nice. Okay, any questions on that? That's a really good point, Lanny. Thank you very much.
Mike, I might inject this before we get away from polio. You mentioned Nigeria has gone through 1 year without a single case.
Right.
What's equally impressive is the entire continent of Africa has gone through a time period of 1 year without a single case of polio. And a lot of people don't realize how big Africa is. It's 4 times as large as the United States.
Yep, absolutely.
So that continent now is clean, at least for the moment.
Oh, that's profound. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really amazing. So now, just so people don't get complacent, all you need to think about is last year to understand, or I think it was 2 years ago, to understand how this can unravel on us quick. So right when Syria was the Syria conflict was kicking off, you had flare-ups of polio in Somalia and Syria and Jordan, all in the case of a few months. So it's crucial for us to get this right and to finish this thing off. I think Rotary International theorizes by 2018 we can have it completely done, but it's going to take a concerted effort in these three countries and make sure everybody else is still good before we can wipe it out. Okay, really good discussion. All right, so we talked about these.
One more thing, Mike, is it worth it?
Go ahead.
Is it worth mentioning the Gates Foundation matching grant?
It probably is. I didn't want to overwhelm. I'm more from a mentoring standpoint.
So much, yeah.
Yeah, from a mentoring standpoint, you could mention that.
As a quick, sales pitch to a prospective new members, or even just club in general. At this point, without trying to go into a lot of the mechanical details, I would just say it this way: if you're willing to give $100 to Polio Plus, you really gave $300. Because the Gates Foundation is going to give $200 for every 100 we give.
So they're going to match it by 2 times.
Yep. And if Rotary internationally can round up $35 million, Gates will give us $70 million. That's the big picture. And that's a 3-year plan.
So say that one more time.
If Rotary members can come up with $35 million per year for 3 years, Gates will give us $70 million each of those 3 years in a 2-for-1 matching. Wow,
cool. That's really good. So it's something that, we can add that. We can add that, and we'll try to say it simply.
Don't get it too complicated. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's leveraging your money.
That's that one slide they have with Bill Gates. We've seen it a lot there, where he's standing in front of the sign and showing, this close. I think that could be a good slide for this.
Yeah. Okay, let me hit a couple more things here. So we talked about fundraisers, fellowship. This is one of the side benefits of being a Rotarian, is that the club meeting, the way I described it, and it's funny, you never know what's going to resonate with a potential member. So I have a new member. She just joined the club. But when I was talking to her initially about joining, I mentioned the projects we do, and I mentioned the networking, and so on. I kind of went through the spiel. But then I said, I really love my club. It's like my little oasis. I'm not at work and I'm not at home. And that's what hooked her. She goes, when can I join? You know what I mean? So, she was just one of those people that, she loved home and she loved work, but man, she wanted to get away from both sometimes. And just so knowing that was out there. And then since she joined, she was shocked at how many people she knew. And I think that's the other thing. You don't realize the connectedness. And I know so many people around O'Fallon now. It's not even funny. I had a funny story from somebody I met. They said this guy said his wife is from the area, but he joined the Rotary Club, and she's mad now because more people know him than her, even though she's from the area and he's not. So it's just, tout the fellowship and tout the connectedness and those socials. All right, this is one of the good things.
And the socials are about the energy, and that's where you really build that cohesiveness, the culture that you want to encourage with the members.
So I'm going to take a couple slides to talk about the benefits of membership. So sometimes I think that we don't hit this much as well. But think of this in terms of I'm talking to a company about why it is that it would be beneficial for them to sponsor somebody, especially a young person. So not only are they getting somebody who's going to give back, this is their opportunity to give back, but they can network, and they can network on their company's behalf. And so, especially when they're going to get a shiny new Rotary name tag that has banker at the bottom of it. Because what's the first time you get introduced to Bob, and Bob is banker on the bottom, and what's the first thing somebody's going to ask him? What bank? Right? Oh, First Bank, or whatever. Oh, really? Okay, I know somebody at First Bank. And so instantly the message is out. So the other part of this, and we've been talking about this, we've been talking about mentoring, but not really strictly in a Rotary sense. We're talking we have a young person and we have a more experienced person, someone who's been around the job scene and the career scene for a while. Well, these two can help each other. So here's some techniques when I've been, so junior banker meets more senior banker. Hey, here's some ideas, how to tackle certain things. And you meet people who can kind of guide you in your career path. We've already talked about fellowship and ethics. Family, bring in family, making sure they're part of the participation in the projects and the social aspects. Leadership. This is another big reason why a corporation should think about sponsoring a person, because you're going to have a committed person who is now being trained in public speaking, networking, how to lead a project, how to lead a committee, and so on. You're going to get somebody who is better at all those things just through being a Rotarian.
Well, there's an incredible amount of value to the agendas that we have. For a lot of young people, they haven't experienced, a lot of young professionals have not experienced an agendized meeting, one that meets on time, dismisses on time, we keep it moving quickly. It's an hour. It should be an hour, and so far our clubs that I've visited have been really good about keeping it to that hour, and that's a respect of the people in the club, and it's really great to teach that thing, that little leadership component there. A lot of young professionals get a lot of value from that.
Excellent point, Deb. And the final one is public speaking, and you don't think that makes a difference, but we have a lot of opportunities to do public speaking, and really everything from we have a Rotary moment. You kind of give up and you say something about, hey, what's going on, or a little thought of the day. Just we do that to start off the meeting, or you're talking about your committee and what's going on with your committee, or so on. You have a lot of opportunities to get up and just talk. Well, I was talking to somebody I was trying to get to come to my club, and she's a businesswoman. She actually owns a business in the O'Fallon area. And I said, oh, we'd love to have, I was trying to hook her by telling her we'd love to have you talk at our next meeting. She goes, oh, no, I cannot get in front of a club. I mean, she's in the mid-30s. And she says, I cannot get in front of somebody and talk. No, I'm deathly afraid of public speaking. So it's out there a lot more than you think. So the fact that you tout this to a corporation, hey, your person is going to be probably better at public speaking after he joins us than before. So a lot of different benefits, and especially to a young person. So I think these are things that we can tout. So while you have benefits, you also have responsibilities. So attendance, and we kind of go through these here in a little bit here, so I won't dwell on them. Financial obligations. service, the number of, some people ask for number of hours. Make sure that you're involved with projects. I mean, especially in a small club, there's a lot of things that need to be done in the club, and in the community, and finding and keeping members like we're trying to do right here. So, as an example of financial obligations, this is just an example from O'Fallon Sunrise. So we do a $50 initiation fee. As part of that, we get them a pin. It pays for the name tag. We also get them a shirt, which is like the Rotarian at Work shirt. Has anybody seen those?
Yeah.
Anybody not seen them?
We're getting ready to order ours finally, Mike.
Oh, good. Is anybody? And if anybody has not seen these, again, because we try to do the, let's preview this thing. So this is what it looks like. So on the front we have, and I think we've just created a new one which has the new Rotary symbol on it, and on the back it says Rotarian at Work. So it's really easy. They're very bright. They come in women's sizes, and you can spot it from a mile. So when you're putting up flags or whatever. So I find these being very helpful. Little small billboards when you're out there doing your thing. We figured.
Mike, would you be willing to add to your order for members of our club that might want those?
Well, actually, the on here, anybody can download this and anybody can order from these guys.
Oh, okay.
So again, this is on.
If you get a bigger discount with more.
You actually do. I think it's the first time. I can't remember exactly what the. But yeah, Kelly Young. Do you know Kelly, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
So Kelly Young's the one who orders them. So I would just throw her a note and just let her know, hey, the next time you order them, let us know because we'll order them too.
Okay.
Okay. So when we're talking about that's the $50 thing. Now our dues are slightly different. So I think that the normal Rotary International and district dues comes up to about 120, 125, somewhere around there. And then the rest of it for our club is breakfast. So about $5 a week, right? So, but presenting this up front, both before and then reminding him afterwards, is crucial to expectation management. You want these folks to understand what they're getting into. Now, I'll tell you way back to that story when Todd Kale invited me. He wouldn't tell me initially what the financial obligations was. I was like, all right, well, I think I'm joining, but just because he's hesitant on telling me, I think I'm in for a big fat bill. And then when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's not that bad, but okay. So, but along with the financial obligations, whether it's just the $120, David, do you mind if I ask what your guys' dues are in Sunset?
$160.
$160. So you basically went $40 above what Rotary International and the district asked for.
And the district, correct.
So, and that's a huge thing. So I think that you can tout that you're a lot less expensive than those other fat clubs that are in the O'Fallon area. So,
and we have no initiation fee.
And what's that? No initiation fee.
And there is no initiation.
Oh, excellent. But while you're talking to this, talk about, hey, while we have these dues, we'd love for you to contribute to Foundation. $100 annually is all we suggest. Don't ask, suggest. And for either Foundation or Polio, I think either one. And then other things, we social events, being involved with that, fundraisers, so on.
Taking a look at the meal structures and things like that
Absolutely.
always requires a closer examination, and especially as the group changes a little bit and you have new members, making sure that you're meeting the needs and desires so that the club fits the membership as well as the members fitting into the club. as you get new members, you might think about, okay, maybe not everybody's wanting a meal. Maybe this should be a la carte, they pay for their own meal. I know that's what we do, but then, of course, we keep our dues structure a little lower to encourage them to donate to foundations. So I guess it's...
I wish that were the case, though.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
So I'll give you an example. Fairview Heights, just their evening portion. Remember, they got a satellite club, so their evening portion. They had a mandatory dinner. Essentially, they had a buffet, and they had it catered, so it was expensive, and not that many people wanted to do it. So they finally got rid of it. And I think, Deb, you had mentioned to me, you guys used to meet in a non-restaurant type of activity,
And
now you're in a not a Buffalo Wild Wings. What am I thinking?
yeah, bandanas.
Bandanas.
We were meeting at the golf club, and now we're meeting at bandanas.
Yeah, but now dinner is not mandatory. They can get a dinner, they can get something to eat if they want to, but it's not mandatory. So
yeah, we just encourage them to at least buy a beer or something, support the restaurant, for sharing their facility with us. But Bandanas they've been very accommodating to do that. Not all restaurants will, but they have been.
Okay, so let's talk about attendance really quick. So when we talk about attendance, and Rotary just hit on this in their latest talk about membership, that we should be talking about attendance like checking a box. Attendance is I'll say a sign of engagement. So when we talk about, well, we don't want to track it that closely, or we don't think, we don't want to be that tight on attendance. You should pay attention to it, and it's easy to go find it, and I can show you how to do that right now. But and here's why: because it's a level of engagement, and you can see a drop off in engagement, and quite honestly, you can attack a drop off in engagement. So I'll give you an example. So if you go, hang on, let me go back to DACDB real quick. So if you go to DACDB, and if you have the ability to go to attendance, you see it up here in the top right, then you can go to attendance reports. You see on the left-hand side, you have attendance reports. And then you can look at different levels of attendance. So I'm trying to remember exactly which one I do. I think it's memory summary. Probably an easy one to look at, I think, is I think you can look at weekly attendance summary. So I can't remember, but no, I think there's a member summary in there. Sorry about that. But take a peek through here, and just here we go. So now nobody call out Darcy Benway for being a slacker, but you can see who is not coming, and then obviously up top you can set what dates you want to look at, whether it's you want to go June to present day, what member types you can look at, but we were able to look at who hadn't been coming, and then all you're doing is you're following up. So again, another thing the membership person has to do, why it should be more of a committee. But it's crucial that you do that because if they're not engaged, then they're just going to fall away. And it's especially important that you follow up, because maybe they just got out of the habit, and maybe after a while they think, well, nobody's really noticed that I haven't shown up. And so when somebody engages with them and says, hey, how you doing? I haven't talked to you in a while. We haven't seen you. How you been? Not, how come you haven't been coming to the club? Because it's mostly, you just miss their smiling face. Then, hey, we have a new speaker coming up. They're going to be really good. Or, hey, we're doing lobsters. That's what our club does. So but just make sure they're engaged and follow up. Show them you care. Don't let them just fall away.
Obviously, we've got a lot of very engaged people here online with us tonight, and we have a lot of clubs out there that are kind of sleepy. They're not exactly fully in full throttle, getting new members and working hard. And Mike and I discovered that not all clubs have membership chairs. What are there any suggestions out there as far as encouraging some of these other clubs to have membership chairs, or what we could do to encourage membership teams to have at least a couple of people sharing that role? Ah, silence. I stumped the band, didn't I? It's something to think about, because we've got obviously everyone online tonight. All of you are going to be very good at nurturing and taking this information back to clubs. But Mike and I are looking at the district, and we're wanting to help build membership district-wide, but we're looking at the challenges there. How can we help some of these other clubs do the same thing we're trying to do right here tonight? And
it's Lanny.
Yeah, hi, Lanny.
I think in some other areas that I'm working in, I'm aware that a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, I got to be careful how I word the number on that. A lot of clubs don't tell DACDB who their committee chairs are. They may tell the big four officers begrudgingly, but whether they give a foundation chair or a membership chair or any other committee chairs, maybe not.
Yeah. I'm lucky right now, actually, we have if you look in DACDB, we still have 2 presidents that are missing from that list. As far as clubs and membership, it's like, oh, don't even bother, because it's like maybe a third of the clubs that are represented.
I think we counted 11, maybe.
Yeah.
I can tell you that on the RI site, on the membership section of goals, I think we are at 75% compliance, which would mean that there are still 16 clubs that haven't entered a membership goal data.
I think the other thing we've been noticing just through looking at ages is that we have 34% that haven't put in a birthday into DACDB, and maybe they're doing it for privacy reasons. I don't know, but you can't tell how old people are in the club, in their clubs. So we don't know whether we have 30%, 34% more young people, or where they're at. So I think it would be great to get a push among the clubs to correct their data. Just we kind of both from who are your members, who are your officers, especially membership chairs, so we can engage with them, and also so we know what your demographics look like.
So, Lanny, to your point, I think I was really diligent in setting up the committee structure when I was club president, and worked with Kelly as president-elect, and we were very diligent in setting up that thing and stayed on top of it so our new presidents know to do that, and our president-elects. But I think that maybe some of the clubs, and obviously the numbers indicate that a lot of them at the leadership level don't feel comfortable doing that, and that is something that I kind of feel is a way for the leadership team to recognize their members. That's another engagement piece to announce, hey, we've got our committee structure up, and congratulations, you're the chair of this committee, and here are your members, and making it a bigger deal so that it becomes an engagement tool rather than, oh gosh, I got to plug this into DACDB. Same thing with goals.
I know what you're saying there, Deb, and I agree with it. I also think that there are maybe 2 mitigating circumstances, not necessarily excuses. Mm-hmm. One of them is club culture, and the other one is club size. Mm-hmm. Smaller clubs, I'm in a club of 20 people, and having a really well-defined committee structure just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of working sense. Mm-hmm. We just kind of accept the fact that everybody needs to try to take charge of one prospective member.
And we have had some committees of one. I admit that.
So there are just clubs that are, they're not going to be real strong structure clubs.
Good points. So one of the things to think about on attendance is that there are a lot of ways to make up or engage your people. Get them to, again, 50% of the time is, 50% is the minimum attendance, but it only has to be, it doesn't have to be at a club meeting. It can be in a service project, fundraiser, social event. You can make it up online. But you've got to have some types of events. Do you have service projects in your club? Do you have fundraisers or other events for them to go to? So they're not just going to your Rotary Club and listening to a speaker all the time. So this kind of went to, we had a young man who was new to the area. His wife was stationed at Scott Air Force Base. And, he was in his late 20s, but, he came and visited our club in the probably the January timeframe. Of course, January timeframe, you're not doing very much as far as you're not out doing the garden and or even putting up flags. But after he went to 2 or 3 meetings, and then he came to me, and I was the club president. He goes, "Do you guys do anything?" And he wanted to get involved. So it's really important. I felt like based off of that, you almost, as a club structure, need to look at your calendar and think about, how do we engage people across the calendar. Now, you don't have to overload your people, because I think it's probably one of the burnouts, probably another reason why people leave. But
Mike,
go ahead, Greg.
Greg Yank. We're seeing, there's no Rotary police that are going to come and tell a club, you're disqualified. What we're seeing, particularly in England and some other cities in Europe, is really a lot of flexibility on how clubs function. Meeting twice a month. One of the meetings is a service project. So what Rotary is really trying to suggest to clubs is flexibility and innovation. You don't have to meet every week. I mean, I know that the manual says, you got to meet every week, but just think about maybe a service project instead of a meeting.
I know our club has been bouncing that around a lot too, because we're very service driven, and we have quite a few a nice mix of people that are willing to get out there and do the service projects and love it. So we're thinking, gosh, the way they respond to that's something we ought to think about.
Yeah, really good point, Greg. I did hear that, and I heard it's like 2 meetings, 1 service project, and 1 social, and so it's like the 2-1-1 concept.
Right, something like that. I mean, we just, many Rotary clubs are very traditional, and that's okay. But to attract new people, younger people, we do have to be aware of what we're doing and what we're offering.
That's right.
Bob, did I hear you?
I want to interject and excuse myself. I got 2 pages of notes. This has been very, very helpful, and I'll take the information back to our club. I have a call coming in a few minutes from Peking, China, where my son has been teaching robotic surgery. He's a full professor of medicine.
Oh, wow.
And we're making some plans to meet him someplace. So good night, everybody.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it.
Good night.
Good night, Bob.
Oh, how cool is that?
That's wonderful.
Okay, so I think we had a good discussion on engagement. Just gives us some ideas. it's important to understand, what people are doing, whether they're falling away or they're still part of your club essentially, and some other ways maybe to restructure your club to make it more interesting. So a really good discussion. I think what I'd like to do now is just show you some examples of social media and why it's so important. Right now, if you want to get people engaged, then you need to tell them what's going on. And not only that, but in part of attracting them, both from the outside and the inside, then that it's important to show them what's going on. So I'm going to show you a couple different websites. First, I'm going to show you a Facebook page. So this is our O'Fallon Sunrise Facebook page. And so this is us touting our lobster sales. Yeah, you like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, you'll see a lot of stuff on Lobster Palooza, but also, hey, we just had a guy from, come speak to us about what's going on in our community, and so on. Oh, more lobsters. Okay, so, but Rotary 6510. We've got, we've got Governor Tom out there. It's going to our club. So it's a really easy way. I mean, it's putting pictures on Facebook is the easiest way to show what is going on. Plus, the benefit of that is that once you put this on, now guess what I can do is I can tag a photo. So now, guess what? That's Joe McKay, and this is Tom Giebert, and if I've got him, oh, there he is.
There you go. There you
go. Guess what that does? It actually alerts his social network that he's been tagged, and so now people go and look at the picture, right?
And add that location, and people know how to get there next time.
Right.
There you go.
So very easy. All right. So that is that. I'm going to show you. I kind of showed you a brief. This is our O'Fallon Sunrise Rotary Facebook page. So it's been recently revamped. My good friends Steve Stater just revamped this, so you'll see we have upcoming events on the right-hand side to kind of you get people attracted, kind of rotating pictures of what's been going on, and then the way I view. So you can go to a lot of work on all your social media, but let me give you this thumbnail sketch on how to use each one. Websites are for what's permanent. So in here you'll notice avenues of service. So this is what's going on in our community, and it's what remains fairly stable. So we have the food pantry. We have the types of activities that we support, organizations we support, and each one of these has a hyperlink. But this is going to remain stable, okay? But people can dig into this and find out what's going on. So they can go into looking at fundraisers, et cetera. And especially if you have, hey, here's a direct donate link to the foundation. Facebook is for what's local. Okay, I mean, you want to engage your populace through friends and stuff, but mainly, especially if you want to advertise, you're trying to attract people in your local community to come to your Rotary Club. So using Facebook is an excellent way to do that. And then you have Twitter, and I don't have Twitter up right now, but Twitter is an excellent way to get engagement from outside your local group and get ideas from thousands of Rotary clubs around the world. It's amazing the number of Rotary clubs that put out different ideas and pictures of projects and things that they are doing out in their communities. It's just fantastic to see the network from the Twitter standpoint. And also you can look up and like Rotary programs around the world. So if you just do nothing but click on Rotary, I bet you can go, oh, we can look at St. Clair County Sunset. And look at that. There's David Gorenstein as a new Paul Harris Society member. Look at that. How did we know that was going to be there? So, and all you have to do is say, click like on there, and then you'll get their updates as well. So it's a great way to become connected, and get ideas from other organizations and publicize your own. So good job, David. Way to go.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we talked about that. All right. Ways to get involved. We kind of touched on this. How do you engage your people? So I won't dwell on this, but you've got a lot of different avenues. You have to be, you have to ask your new member, what's your passion? Why did you join? What's your what gets you, really, what gets you really jazzed up? Okay.
And also, I think it's important to reach out to the members as they're coming in and get to know these people enough that they feel like they are helping to mold activities. So
really
when you ask them what they like to do, say, tell us about some of the areas that you think we could be helpful in, so that they can maybe come up with some ideas, some fresh ideas. They can own a project right from the get-go if they feel like their opinion, their idea is valuable.
Absolutely. I've heard a technique in other clubs where they'll have the new members band together and come up with an idea for a project.
Yeah.
So a really good way to get them engaged right from the start. And get them inspired. I mean, we talked about Rotary moments. So giving an opportunity to get that Rotary moment right from the start.
That's right.
So we talked about training as one of the benefits of membership. So lots of training opportunities. We have president-elect training or pre-president-elect training and club foundation training. So it's kind of giving you the nuts and bolts on the administrivia on how club foundation, the paperwork works, and foundation grants, etc. And then you have the president-elect training, which is in March. Fantastic. You get the network of people that you get to meet and the ideas that flow from that. And the speakers are really good, and the food's been really good too. District Assembly, so I'm going to counterbalance. So District Assembly in April is a lot of very specific training to your core membership, president, secretaries, treasurers. They try to give them the skills they need for the next year. There's a lot of these programs roles try to switch over. And then there's another one for foundation and membership training in July. We just had ours not too long ago.
And that food is not so good.
Yep. And then, but the district conference, I can't emphasize this enough. It's not quite training. It is inspiration. So if people think that, okay, I'm just a normal member, I shouldn't come to district assembly, they should come. But the district conference, if you're going to choose between the two, have them go to conference, because conference is where they're going to be inspired. They're going to meet other Rotarians. They're going to hear Rotary moments. The speakers are usually tremendous. They're going to do a service project. Last 3 years, we've done great service projects, and they're going to get information, and they're going to come out of it with a new vibe for Rotary, and that's what we want. And then the final thing, if they really want to kick it into gear, you have the international conference, which is just a whole step above that. So a lot of opportunities to get training. Okay, so the next few slides, I'm gonna quickly hit some of the aspects of DACDB. So if you know how to work through a DACDB and Rotary.org, you can tune me out. But when we did a feedback, I did an orientation over at my house to new members, and then we did a feedback form. Hey, is there anything you really didn't understand? DACDB and Rotary.org were some of the ones they thought should be hit again. So I'm going to hit these really quickly. And again, the nice thing is not only if you have any issues or you haven't been able to find things, we've got a lot of other district folks who probably know how to get there. So obviously you know how to get the login, but if you just want to look at your own data, go to My Data right up top, and then you should be able to see all your stuff and make sure that it's good. Okay, and then
as mentors, you need to really encourage your new members. First thing, get their stuff in there. Help them if they don't know how to get in there. If you're going to mentor someone, take a moment, sit with them at a laptop and help them get in there and get their picture up there and their data in there. That'll eliminate a lot of problems on the other side.
Especially email. What we're finding out right now, for some reason, me like a dummy and being a newbie to the membership chair, I put in a new member, but I didn't put their email. And should I be surprised when they're not getting emails from the president? No, probably not. So don't be like me. I think that's the lesson here. All right. So there are a lot of other things on DACDB. If you go to just in the home and you go to My Club dashboard, you can see what's going on with My Club, both from attendance-wise snapshot to membership trends. And you see O'Fallon Sunrise is kicking butt. Good. So, all right. And then calendar events. This is probably the most useful one. So if you go to calendar and then you can sort by date, you can kind of scroll up and down, and I can show you right now live. So if you go over here to calendar, right in the middle of the page, and you can see all the things that are coming up. Look, there's us in the mentoring webinar. So, but you can see here is the zone, and then we've got in October, this is the district conference. This is a really good place to send people to make sure they register, and you can pay right online, which is nice. But people put their fundraisers on here, so this is a good place to go. Okay, so those are the biggies for DACDB, except for the last one, which is how to enter a makeup. So a couple ways to do it. One, under DACDB, right under your picture, you'll see enter makeup right under there. So you click on that, and then you see this screen over here on the bottom right. You just basically fill it out. Now, sometimes that there is a limitation on when your date of makeup. So if you click on here, you'll have to look for the date you're trying to make up. But if you've got somebody who has a good DACDB level, then they can undo it and they can make it available for the person to be able to make up at that date. So you can be flexible on that. Okay. So then you go to Rotary.org, and this is also helpful. So DACDB is good because it helps organize the district and organize your club, but Rotary.org is good because it has a lot of information there. Okay, so if you get on Rotary.org and you sign into My Rotary, you can go to Profile in the bottom left, and then you're going to have your information pop up. So basically in the same regard as DACDB, all your contact information, and then down in the bottom you'll see here Rotary Foundation recognition level, and also how many people have I brought in, new member sponsor recognition, okay? What your club is, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, you can look at your own donor history. And so if you go to donor history up at the top, and then you have to click donor history again, then you're going to get this report. Basically, it shows you, all right, the person is a Paul Harris Fellow. Here's a recognition amount, how much they've given, and we talked about these points. So this person has 788 points, and they can donate these points to anybody as a matching. And some of these people who are multiple Paul Harris Fellows, they've got a lot of points, and you can use those points to match and it makes somebody else a Paul Harris Fellow. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay. Under My Rotary, also you can go to Rotary Club Rotary Club Central, and then you can view from a club or district level how we're doing in terms of membership, foundation, etc. You can look at, again, our demographics. So very helpful there. The thing I find most interesting is all the information that's out there. You can take webinars. You can, here's your learning and reference. So you can learn by role. You can learn just everything from how to be a membership chair, fundraising projects, all this stuff. There is, here's your webinars. So there's a whole host of different things that you can look at here. So here's your beginner, intermediate, advanced. So if you're a really advanced person, no upcoming webinars, but on demand, I think is what you want to get to actually. So here's all your, go to English here. How to recruit new members and strengthen your club, alumni reports. There's a lot of things you can download there. The final one I'll talk about is you go down to the bottom and you go to, where is it? Brand Center. So under Manage, you'll see Brand Center. So this is very helpful for your publications or anything where you need to download a logo.
Something else, Mike, you might want to mention about Rotary Central is the showcase. I've been loading up art projects when I can to demonstrate what we do, and you can, any kind of service projects, any kind of things that you're doing with, and you're able to put the hours, the human hours it takes, what kind of an impact it had with the in-kind gifts, the donations, and that kind of gives you a bragging place too if you want to promote your club to new members, potential members. Say, here's some of the projects you can go after Rotary Central on the showcase and see those projects.
Okay, so I just went to Rotary Club Central and see if I can see where I do this. And so while that's loading here, I'll go over here. This is the Brand Center. So here are the Brand Center guidelines. It'll tell you how to display the Rotary logo and so on. So it's very helpful. You can download the logos or get any other types of materials, and you can download or order these. One of the things I really have liked is, you can create your own brochure or presentation, etc. So I actually did this, and it's very helpful. Now, one of the things you have a couple of different. Here, I'll show you the Rotary Club one. You can see how it already has pre-populated stuff on Polio. It has pictures you can choose, but there are some things that you can tailor, and it's very helpful. Very helpful to have a start.
Yeah, you can customize those pictures and everything, so it's pretty easy to use.
So, and then we've got, okay, so this is your. What did you say you did?
It's on Rotary Club Central. It's actually, you don't have to be logged in. You can look at the showcase when
showcase. Okay.
Showcase is where, clubs all around the world have put projects up there.
All right.
And it's kind of a good promotional tool, a recruitment tool to show people what kinds of work you do. Somebody says, well, what does Rotary do? You can go out and look at one of those showcase projects and see the pictures, see what kinds of an impact it had, financial impact and otherwise. So it's a very good place to look.
All right, there we go. Rotary Showcase.
There you go.
Okay. So I think I'm showing it. So there
we go.
Yeah.
Humanitarians.
Yeah, so
it's really a great place to show off a little bit about what we do.
Really good one. I like that. Okay, and then you can add a new project and add your own.
That's what I've done for our club with our Youth Success Rally and several of the other smaller charity projects we've done. I've done that.
Very cool. Thanks, Deb. Okay, so we've covered a lot, and I think that I've taken almost all of your 2 hours of time, and I appreciate the people who hung on, even though
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. We really appreciate it. So what didn't we cover? So what do we need to make sure we concentrate on, or what could you have seen less of, I guess?
What would you like to see more of, or that they will help you be better mentors for your new members?
Maybe how to present this.
Hey, Mike, this is Scott Heathman.
Hi, Scott.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott.
I'm sorry. One of the things, as you know, I'm about a year into my Rotary journey, but I came from the Rotaract side of the house years ago, and just getting back into Rotary, and I've got a job that's transient, being a military member, but there's professionals in construction or teachers or folks moving around. The one thing I haven't seen yet, and it's probably been talked about, but is there any type of, I hate to say program, but transitional support? For instance, I'm expecting to move next year. I don't know quite where yet. When I know where my assignment will be, my challenge will be how do I continue that Rotary journey at that next location?
Right.
As a local club here, it might be kind of a neat idea as the owning club, much like we do almost in jobs placement. We as maybe membership folks or mentors, maybe make some calls out to that unit or out to the Rotary clubs in their area, or maybe provide the member some opportunities of where they could look if they want to continue that Rotary journey. Because I don't have any data, but I'd be interested to see that how many folks that actually are transient that move away from a location, how many do you actually retain in the Rotary at large?
Well, that's a very good point, because we do have a lot of people who change jobs and have to relocate all the time, and I'm sure we've lost some numbers for that.
Yeah, and I think if you provide them just a little bit of care and feeding to help them, hey, we found these locations, would you like me to call out there and let them talk to them about you? Yeah. I'll put in a good word. Sometimes just that handshake, that connection will actually retain that member, and that's all it would take.
I have there's an app that I have on my phone, iPhone, and it's and here, let me see if I can get this. So it is Find a Rotary Club. So and that's an easy way, and usually you do it because you're in the area and you want to engage with somebody different, but it's not a bad thing to use to try to, I'm actually going to live there, so it would be helpful for me to go find it now. So it's called Club Locator. Okay, so I don't know if can you guys see me if you guys see me on the webcam? You see it?
Yes.
So I'm kind of hiding my face with it, and you should all be blessed for that. But
I kind of used that for one of my friends, so I think Rob might be on the call here. When he went out to Dallas for a while, I wanted him to stay in Rotary, so I used that Find a Rotary Club app just for that, to find the clubs in Dallas so that he would know where to go.
But I think go ahead.
As some people know, I spent 7 months working in the Cayman Islands last year, and it was really nice to basically just walk in and have friends there. And I actually basically stayed a member of my home club because I knew I was coming back. But if you're going somewhere else, it literally only takes 5 minutes to transfer your membership to another club.
Really good point, R. And so, did you enjoy? Did you feel like you're immediately connected to this new club?
Yeah, I mean, I literally, the second week I was there, showed up, and they had a welcome person that basically basically became my mentor. I was my contact person. Welcome to the club, and told me about how everything works, and I plugged right in and started doing all kinds of stuff with them.
Cool.
That's really cool.
Very cool.
The only issue I would say was, my home club, you would work with my home club because they have a really good newsletter, But if you have a home club that doesn't send out emails or doesn't send out stuff, you would lose connection with your home club.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other experiences like that? Okay. Well, we've covered a lot tonight, and you guys have all hung in and had a ton of great feedback and discussion. I think I'm just flabbergasted. I think it's fantastic, the level of engagement you all have in trying to make your clubs better and the district better. So I'd like to thank you all for attending, and also thank my co-host Deb for jumping in.
You're welcome.
Any parting words, Deb?
Well, I think we've given them a lot of information, and I think we've started a good foundation for all the mentors. I think that we need to continue this discussion because there's so many ideas out there that we know we could enrich our clubs with, especially not only recruiting these people, but making them be Rotarian from the onset, from the get-go, and that's what mentorship is all about. So thank you all for participating, and we want to see some questions out there on our membership Facebook site so we can find some answers and help build our district.
All right. Well, have a good night, everyone, and we will post this on the membership page.
Thanks, Mike and Deb.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.